This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, and faith-focused feature stories with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Wheels up, Air Force One. Good afternoon. President Trump leaves today for Communist China. It's the first face-to-face meetings in Beijing between the world's two great superpowers in nearly a decade. Ben Shapiro with the Daily Wire.
When it comes to what President Trump's going to talk about with China on Iran, the United States has all the cards with China. Remember, they are way more dependent on that region than we are at this point. And the United States can do many things that make the pain very, very bad for China in the region.
More on the high-stakes China talks from NBC's Garrett Hake.
The U.S.-China relationship is often called the most important bilateral relationship in the world, tying together the two largest economies on the planet that operate in very different ways. And this week, that relationship will be renewed and possibly tested in a summit whose topics are expected to range all the way from soybean sales to the future of artificial intelligence.
Traveling to China with the president are 16 of the nation's top CEOs, including Elon Musk and Tim Cook. The war in Iran, trade, AI, and the fate of Taiwan, all expected to come up during the two-day state visit. The president says the truce with Iran is on life support and may not last much longer. He got clinical in his diagnosis of the ceasefire at the White House Monday.
Massive life support, where the doctor walks in and says, "Sir, your loved one has approximately a 1% chance of living."
What does that mean exactly? Reporter Ashley Webster.
We are told that all options are on the table, including the resumption of military strikes.
Retired Army General Jack Keane is all for that.
Return to full combat operations and finish what we started. That's Israeli full throttle, the United States full throttle, then open up the Straits of Hormuz.
President Trump accusing Iran of backing away from a deal for us to take control of its highly enriched uranium, the stuff of which nuclear bombs are made. The president says he supports suspending the 18 cents a gallon federal tax on gasoline. This as motorists continue to pay through the nose for fuel. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Let's not pretend 18 cents of gas tax relief per gallon makes up for the damage Trump created with this war.
Proceeds from the gas tax fund highway construction and repairs. Regular unleaded now averaging $4.50 a gallon nationwide. 18 Americans evacuated from that cruise ship hit with the hantavirus are being watched for signs of infection. All but 2 are under quarantine at a medical facility in Nebraska. Ian Lee reports from Omaha.
What we heard from officials today is that this virus is something that they know, but they don't really have many treatments for it. So it is important for these people, even if they don't have any symptoms or they don't show any signs of the virus right now, that they are here so that they can be monitored closely.
Sometimes it can take up to 6 weeks for symptoms of hantavirus to appear. Worldwide, there are 11 cases of the illness. 3 passengers aboard that cruise ship died from the disease. A chaotic scene near Boston Monday, a gunman opening fire on a major highway. Those chilling moments unfolded in Cambridge, not far from Harvard University. A man with a long gun fired dozens of rounds at passing vehicles. 2 motorists were critically injured. The suspect was shot by a Massachusetts state trooper and a civilian with a license to carry. No word yet on why that man opened fire on that highway. The U.S. Supreme Court has set the stage for Alabama to eliminate one of 2 largely black congressional districts before the November midterms. Yesterday's decision comes after the court last month struck down a majority black district in Louisiana as an illegal racial gerrymander.
The law now seems to be that partisan map making is constitutionally permissible, but racially conscious districts are not.
Legal analyst Thane Rosenbaum. The High Court's extended a temporary decision reached last week regarding a controversial abortion pill.
It's a 3-day extension of the court's stay of a lower court decision that would have halted mail delivery of mifepristone, so access to the widely used pill will remain untouched until at least Thursday, while the justices consider whether to allow restrictions on the drug to take effect. Medication abortions have accounted for nearly 2/3 of all abortions in the U.S.
CBS's Cami McCormick, the mayor of Arcadia, California, a suburb of Los Angeles, has pled guilty to acting as a foreign agent for Communist China. 58-year-old Eileen Wang ran a website with her boyfriend that spread Chinese propaganda. She faces a decade behind bars. Legal analyst Katie Zachariah.
If you go out to Arcadia, which I visited a number of times, it's basically become Little China. And I don't mean the cute San Francisco Chinatown that we all were familiar with. This actually feels like a version of Beijing.
The U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California says it should terrify every American that a spy for China could rise to the highest levels of our government. Still to come on the Noon Report, New York embraces school choice, change of heart at the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and more time to electrify.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams, turning into a nice day today, but showers, they're in the forecast for later tonight and tomorrow. Forecast details are coming up. We'll see you in 10.
All right, better mow the lawn today. Thank you, Kevin. New York State set to become the 30th state to opt into a landmark federal tax credit scholarship program. It makes New York just the second Democrat-led state to embrace this initiative. Colorado was the first. Jason McGuire with New York Families calls it a victory for school choice.
Well, we just simply believe that students need greater opportunities in New York. We have largely a failing public education system, and where parents want to give opportunities for their kids, that may mean a different educational option than is available in many places in the state.
The school choice program allows a dollar-for-dollar federal credit of up to $1,700 for donations made to scholarship granting organizations, or SGOs, in the Empire State. Education activists rallied in Albany Monday for reforms to disciplinary policy at school. They want to suspend school suspensions for disorderly conduct. Isabel Rosa with the Children's Agenda is pushing for passage of what's known as the Solutions Not Suspensions Act.
We're advocating on behalf of all the children in New York State and youth that attend public schools to have better solutions other than being suspended from school, because we know that suspension doesn't have any benefit.
Adam Urbanski is president of the Rochester Teachers Association.
We get it. We should not suspend kids. We should give them some solutions, but they're too light on solutions.
The Solutions Not Suspensions Act is currently stalled in committee in the New York Assembly. The 2026 legislative session, by the way, is scheduled to end Thursday, June 4th. A Pennsylvania Supreme Court justice is switching parties. David Wecht is no longer a Democrat. The 63-year-old fears the Democratic Party has coddled too much with Jew hatred, he says, and other forms of anti-Semitism. Wecht's departure from the party has not changed the Democratic majority on the Commonwealth's highest court. They still hold a 2-seat advantage. New York schools may get more time to electrify their fleet of buses. Family Life Sarah Harnish explains.
Democratic State Senator Christopher Ryan says his bill to delay the state's zero-emission bus mandate will be a part of the state's budget. If approved, schools will have until 2032 to buy or lease electric buses and will have to have an entire fleet of e-buses by 2040, setting both deadlines back 5 years. The original electrification deadline was controversial, with many districts saying they couldn't afford to meet the deadlines. Some districts that have electric buses complained about their range and their ability to move uphill. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Thank you, Sarah. A 15-year-old girl had an 11-minute seizure recently on her way to school in Bath, New York, Central Steuben County. It happened on the school bus, and apparently neither the driver or a school bus aide knew how to respond. The victim, Megan Bacon, spoke to WETM about her ordeal.
I thought, who knows, maybe it's just like a cold or something like that. I didn't realize that I was about to go into a seizure, and I could feel everything, I could hear everything, but I couldn't respond.
Bacon says the bus driver and the aide began shaking her during that epileptic seizure when what they should have been doing is rolling her onto her side. Megan's mom, Erica, says the Bath School District needs to do a better job training staff on how to respond to a medical emergency.
I'm not wanting to bash the school because I understand it's rough. There's other kids with seizures and stuff like that. But I'm speaking as a parent who has witnessed the neglectful care of a child with epilepsy. We need to stand up and do something to protect our children.
A spokesperson for the Bath School District says the epileptic seizure was an undisclosed medical condition and no one was aware of it. The bus driver did call 911 and the 15-year-old was treated by a medical professional. Motorists across the listening area are chiming in on plans to suspend the 18 cents a gallon federal gasoline tax. These drivers say something needs to be done with fuel averaging $4.50 a gallon right now.
People are having a hard time driving to work because they can't afford gas. The more it decreases, the better.
If gas is $4.45 a gallon and you knock off 18 cents, that's less than 5%.
There's legislation in the U.S. Senate right now that would pause the federal gas tax for 3 months. Pennsylvania State Senator Doug Mastriano has been nominated by the president to serve as the U.S. ambassador to the Slavic Republic. Mastriano's a former U.S. Army officer and has represented Adams and Franklin counties in Harrisburg since 2019. In 2022, he lost to Josh Shapiro in the race for governor. The family of a fallen Buffalo, New York firefighter has reached an historic settlement with the Queen City.
Somebody came to work to do their job and died on the line of duty. So we want to make sure that this family is taken care of.
Mayor Sean Ryan says this is the largest lawsuit ever against the Buffalo Fire Department. Family Life's Dee Haley has details.
As the wrongful death case was set to go to trial this week regarding fallen Buffalo firefighter Jason Arno, an agreement has reportedly been reached. Under the settlement, the city will pay the Arno family $5.9 million. Arno died in March of 2023 while responding to a massive fire on Main Street in downtown Buffalo. A wrongful death lawsuit was later filed by Arno's widow. Under the terms of the agreement, the payment will be made in 3 installments over the next 3 years, with the first payment expected in July. The settlement, however, must still be approved by the Buffalo Common Council. Dee Haley, Family Life News.
Thank you, Dee. Pennsylvania House Democrats want to strengthen voting rights in the Commonwealth in the aftermath of a controversial U.S. Supreme Court decision. They argue that decision that strikes down part of the 1965 Voting Rights Act puts minority voters at risk. Last month, in a 6-3 ruling, the Supreme Court said 2 majority black congressional districts in the state of Louisiana constituted illegal racial gerrymandering. A portion of the Susquehanna River will soon be off limits near the Pennsylvania state capitol. Here's Family Life's Brian Query.
The Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission has announced that a portion of the Susquehanna River will be restricted from May 21st to 25th during the upcoming Air Dot Show tour at the Harrisburg International Airport. The commission says there will be a temporary exclusion zone in the area marked by buoys, along with personnel redirecting boat traffic around the zone. Unauthorized persons and boats who enter the restricted area will result in a delay in airshow operations and could be subject to fines and penalties. Brian Query, Family Life News.
All right, thank you, Brian. A new era of NFL football is about to kick off in Buffalo. The Bills will play their first regular season game at their brand new $2 billion Highmark Stadium on Thursday night, September 17th, against the Detroit Lions. That game will be broadcast on Amazon Prime. The Buffalo Sabres are back in action tonight as they look to tie up their Stanley Cup playoff series with the Montreal Canadiens weekends. The Sabres trail that best-of-7 series 2-1 face-off tonight, set for 7 p.m. on ESPN. More sports next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon. I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, the defending champs, still have not lost a game this postseason as they completed a sweep of the Lakers in Los Angeles, 115-110. Now their average margin of victory has been 16.5 points. But last night's game, a little different. For the first time in these playoffs, the Thunder actually trailed in the fourth quarter. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander made the Lakers' 5-point lead disappear after he checked back into the game with 8.5 minutes to play. He scored 9 of his game-high 35 points to lead the comeback. A.J. Mitchell scored 10 of his playoff-high 28 points in the final quarter as well. For LeBron James, he had 24 points and 12 boards. But it's the fourth time he's been swept in the playoffs, and this may have been his last NBA game. Time will tell. The other game played last night saw Donovan Mitchell tie an NBA record with 39 second-half points as Cleveland evened up their series at 2 against Detroit. The Cavs won at 112-103. Mitchell finished with 43. To baseball, the Orioles got a 3-run shot from Kobe Mayo in the bottom of the 7th. They came back to defeat the Yankees at Camden Yards 3-2. Ryan Weathers had a no-no going for New York, but he gave up a hit and got a walk in that 7th inning. Brent Hedrick was summoned, and he promptly gave up the 3-run blast. Ben Rice had a 2-run shot for the Yanks, who've now lost 4 straight. Elsewhere, the Guardians 7-2 winners over the Angels. Tampa Bay knocked off Toronto 8-5. The Mariners 3, Astros 1. San Fran took care of the Dodgers 9-3. The D-backs shut out Texas 1-0. And on the ice, the Avs beat the Wild 5-2 to take a 3-1 lead in their series. That is a look at sports.
All right, thank you, Randy. And still to come on the Noon Report, quarantined in Omaha, Trump-China visit, and ceasefire on life support.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stone Street. In 1976, Carl F. H. Henry published God, Revelation, and Authority, one of the most significant works of theology in the 20th century. 5 years later, Gordon Clark released A Christian View of Men and Things. And in the same tradition, David Noble's magisterial Understanding of the Times covered 10 areas to which a worldview speaks, from theology and philosophy to economics, ethics, sociology, and history. And then all on his own, the late Christian philosopher Ron Nash, in about 30 books, covered almost every other conceivable topic from a Christian worldview. Now, what's missing in this long line of Christian worldview books is one that would have been especially helpful last week, when the Pentagon released a slew of documents, some of which were formally classified. But the Christian view of UFOs, aliens, and unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP, that one remains to be written. NPR described this move by the Trump administration this way, quote, "In all, the Pentagon released more than 160 records, citing President Trump's call for unprecedented transparency and giving the public access to federal and military records related to unexplained encounters with strange phenomena," end quote. The released files date back as far as the 1940s and included reports of the unexplained from military sources, government officials, even the crew of Apollo 11. So far, the response has ranged from a buzz by enthusiasts to a sense by others of just another letdown by a government that overpromised but in the end delivered nothing but a nothing burger. When it comes to aliens and life on other planets, the Bible's basically silent. In both the Narnia series and his space trilogy, C.S. Lewis seemed to entertain the idea of other worlds that were populated by non-human creatures that were created and loved by God. But there's no biblical support for such worlds. Though the Bible does not explicitly reject the possibility, neither does it even imply it is a possibility. The only biblical precedent that's applicable here was one that was acknowledged by Lewis and applied to his imagined worlds, namely the universal reign of Christ over all that's created in heaven and earth. In all worlds, if there are any other worlds, Christ is over and above every created power. Recently, in a conversation I had about artificial intelligence, another topic that's captivating hearts and minds with hopes and fears, the brilliant apologist and Oxford mathematician John Lennox reminded me that throughout Scripture, conversations about the unknown are often joined by an admonition: be not deceived. In other words, if a release of secret documents or any future revelation about unexplained phenomenon causes a crisis of faith among believers, that would say more about the state of our faith than about aliens. According to the biblical record, among the creatures that exist are both the angelic and the demonic, and neither are made in the image of God. In other words, when thinking about any other living creatures in the universe, human exceptionalism is a starting point for discernment. Another phrase repeated throughout Holy Scripture about the unknown, even said often by angelic beings visiting humans: fear not. As John Donne wrote, he that fears God fears nothing else. Thus, it is possible for us to be fearless about the unknown, even that which seems able to overwhelm our strength and our senses. When thinking about things like UFOs, aliens, or UAPs, the very best place to start is with the rule and reign of Christ over all things. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint. And for more resources or to share this commentary with others, go to colsoncenter.org/radio.
Thanks, John. Weather where you live with meteorologist Kevin Williams next.
Here is your family life weather forecast. Our call for this afternoon: good deal of sunshine, clouds building near Lake Erie, and after a frosty cold start, temperatures rebounding to the upper 50s and mid-60s for highs. Then for tonight, clouding up. We'll have showers later tonight and tomorrow. There could be a thunderstorm tomorrow in particular. Not as chilly tonight as last night. Low temps 40s for most. High temps tomorrow 60s. Thursday, good deal of cloudiness with a couple of scattered showers. And a little cooler as well. The high Thursday in the 50s.
All right, thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. Great to have you with us today. I'm your host, Bob Price. Lots to get to. Tuesday, the 12th of May. President Trump will be leaving soon for Communist China. We get a preview from reporter Stacy Lynn.
It's the first visit by a U.S. president to China in nearly a decade. The meeting comes amid strained relations following a trade war, tensions over Iran, and surging global energy prices. The two sides also remain divided over tariffs, sanctions, and China's role as a major buyer of Iranian oil.
Traveling with the president for his two-day state visit are the heads of several American corporations, including SpaceX founder Elon Musk and Apple's Tim Cook. The president is calling garbage Iran's plan to end the war. The regime wants us to pay it war damages. It also wants sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz and an end to U.S. sanctions. NBC's Keir Simmons.
The U.S. and Iran playing chicken with the world economy. The vital shipping lane, the Strait of Hormuz, effectively closed. The world's biggest oil company, Aramco, now warning the damage will last until 2027. With prices soaring at the pump, President Trump saying he's considering suspending the federal gas tax.
That 18 cents a gallon gas tax funds highway construction and repairs. The president says the fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran is right now on life support. 16 Americans are under quarantine in Omaha, Nebraska, after being evacuated from a cruise ship hit by the hantavirus in the Atlantic Ocean. Jake Rosemarin is one of those in isolation. He spoke to NBC's Today Show.
I feel good right now. I'm happy to be in a place where I know we are well cared for, and if anything happens, we have the medical attention that we need.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul says 3 aboard that stricken vessel hailed from the Empire State.
This is transmitted very differently than the coronavirus, and so there's no panic, no concern, but I just need to be proactive, that's all.
Ashley Neumeier is with the Nebraska Office of Public Health.
We have a very strong plan in place here to make sure that no one leaves this facility in an unsecured method at an inappropriate time.
Neumeier says for hantavirus to spread, there needs to be prolonged human-to-human contact, which makes it vastly different from the coronavirus, which shut down the world 6 years ago. A mayor from suburban Los Angeles has admitted to acting as a secret agent for Communist China. 58-year-old Eileen Wang says she and her boyfriend operated a website to spread Chinese propaganda. Here's CBS's Nicole Skanga.
Wang admitted she received directives through the messaging app WeChat from Chinese government officials, posting pre-written articles denying human rights abuses in China and reporting back to her handlers on how many people viewed them.
Wang was the mayor of Arcadia, California, a city of more than 50,000 with a large Chinese-American population. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled in favor of Alabama Republicans. They'll be allowed to go ahead with a redrawn congressional map for next week's primary.
All of this is a consequence of the Supreme Court's decision out of Louisiana overturning the use of the Voting Rights Act to protect black majority districts.
Legal analyst Lori Levinson. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, Monday afternoon, a man armed with a long gun opened fire on passing vehicles smack dab in the middle of the highway. 2 motorists were critically wounded. The gunman was shot by a state trooper and a Good Samaritan. We have no word yet on what his motive was exactly. Amazon is ending the sale of e-bikes in California. This decision follows an increase in deadly accidents involving these electric vehicles, which can reach speeds of 60 miles an hour. California District Attorney Stephen Wagstaff welcomes the move by Amazon.
Here, with just a little turn of a wrench, you can turn this e-bike into a motorcycle very easy.
DAs across the Golden State are cracking down on e-bike manufacturers who make going too fast too easy. Nationwide, e-bike accidents have a 37% higher death rate compared to traditional bicycles. You're tuned in to the Noon Report for a Tuesday on Family Life.
This is Mission Pulse. We spotlight ministries making a difference where you live, across the country, and around the world. This week, we're spotlighting Elaine Schiffer. Tell me the name of your ministry and what you do in Jamaica.
Our ministry is Follow the Source Discipleship Training Center, and we're a branch of Source of Light Ministries here in the States. Our primary ministry is Bible lessons in the schools. We have about 2,000 students in the public schools that take our Bible lessons.
Are you going into the schools, or are these kids coming to the site where the ministry is?
We go into the schools. We actually take the lessons there. They do them in class, and they give them back to us the next week, and then we take them another one until they complete the course. But we have mission teams, too, that come, and they go into the schools. We just had one 2 weeks ago, and they went into the schools and shared the gospel right in the public schools.
Well, we just like to bottle you and have you in the United States, too, please, if you could go into the schools in all 50 states. What does that look like with you bringing Bible curriculum into a public school?
Some schools are more receptive than others, but right now, teachers are contacting me and saying, we are finding out our kids have no church, no Sunday school, for a lot of reasons. The teachers are beginning to recognize it. They know that they need the moral values that come with Christianity.
Doing ministry in a country like Jamaica is difficult enough, but then you got hit by Hurricane Beryl, and 14 months later, you took a direct hit from Hurricane Melissa. How are you guys recovering a year out?
People are back in their houses, but they don't have furniture. They don't have the things they need. It hit our area, plus the entire island. As of this last week, we have helped 31 families get roofs back on. We've had teams come in and work to help with it. We went into one circle where there were 6 houses in the circle. They were all relatives, and every house had lost a roof. We ended up helping each of them. Children aren't coming to school because they don't have shoes. I've ended up doing a lot of first aid on kids that, because of the zinc roofing coming off, they've got cuts and things that are getting infected. It's just been amazing. The last I knew, it was about 30 families that we helped. Now, some of them more than others. Some of them, it was just to buy the materials, and they had people, friends, neighbors that knew how to do the work. And some of it was from scratch. We had an elderly man, 86 years old, and he said, I'm not leaving here. I've lived here for 70 years. I raised my kids here. I am not moving. And all he had was a tarp over his house. So we were actually able to go in and put a roof on it and new doors and painted it. I told him he's got the coolest looking house in the neighborhood now. We also actually built a house, a small house, but nevertheless, she had worked very hard, got it almost built, was ready to move into it, and the hurricane took the whole thing down. And these communities are not people that have what you would call a full-time job. They work doing whatever they can find, whether it's a little bit of carpentry here and there, farming. The ladies raise goats and sheep. Some of them raise chickens, and they butcher them and they sell them for meat. So this is a poor community that we were working in to begin with.
Elaine, you've done this for decades. I mean, it's hard enough to step into a country like this with that much poverty, but then to get hit by not one, but two hurricanes. Tell me why you stay.
Well, it's become home to us. I started out leading short-term teams for 10 years to go into the schools. And then when we moved there, my husband and I are volunteers. He used to work in Olean. We became full-time, and we actually founded this ministry. A doctor donated the property. In 2008, we incorporated. In 2010, we moved in. And God has just blessed us beyond measure. You can't walk away from something when you see God working. God has never let us down. And I was so amazed at this last hurricane when people helped so much. They had just helped for Beryl. And then to do so much to help this time is just amazing.
You have a front row seat to watch miracles of God over and over and over again.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is Elaine Schiffer with Follow the Source Discipleship Training Center in Jamaica for this week's edition of Mission Pulse. Tuesdays during the Noon Report, we spotlight ministries making a difference where you live, across the country and around the world. And finally at noon today, an auction next month will celebrate what would have been the 100th birthday of Marilyn Monroe.
I've heard of affairs that are strictly platonic, but diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Over 100 items from the life and career of the Hollywood icon are up for sale. Julien's Auctions says the sale, presented with Turner Classic Movies, begins June 4th at the Peninsula Beverly Hills. The collection includes a wide range of personal and professional items that are tied to Monroe, including the front entry gate from her Brentwood home. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Hard to believe Marilyn Monroe would have turned 100 on June 1st of this year. And that's our world, the world we live in. Tuesday, the 12th of May. I'm Bob Price. Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.